Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, did I rightly describe the bill in your state, and am I rightly describing the restrictive voting laws in Delaware?
Sean, I've heard this topic discussed at length over the past few days. No one articulated it better than you just did. You provided the best summary. You get a 10 out of 10 on your entire monologue. I would, however, add one thing to what you said, because you're talking about what Biden has been saying, and Biden is calling people names, and you left one out. You left out the fact that Biden called me a Neanderthal for opening at Texas 100% and eliminating masks. So now I am, by Biden's assessment, a Neanderthal and a racist, both of which are completely wrong. What's going on in Texas with regard to this election law we're trying to pass, as you pointed out very perfectly, we are adding hours to vote, not subtracting hours to vote. Everything we're doing is perfectly legal. The only other thing I would add is the hypocrisy of the Democrats from Texas as well as in Washington, D.C., because one thing the Democrats from Texas are trying to achieve in Washington, D.C., they are trying to get the United States Senate to drop their filibuster rule. Well, think about this. What the Texas Democrats are doing, they are filibustering in Texas to try to get the Washington, D.C. Democrats to stop the filibuster rule. That is the height of hypocrisy. All they want to do is complain. They want to spread false information about what the law really does. I can guarantee you, based upon what you said in your monologue as well as what the facts are, there is zero chance that the Texas law, when it does get passed, will be overturned by a court of law, because what we are doing is perfectly constitutional.
Talk about the coverage of people saying that you might have these Democrats arrested when they land back in Texas. Arrested for what? Under what statute?
So what the law is, by Constitution, the House sets the rules about what happens when a quorum is broken, and what happens is this, and that is once a call on the House has been made, which it has been, then the Sergeant at Arms for the Texas House of Representatives can work with the Texas Department of Public Safety to go arrest, apprehend, whatever word you want to choose, and bring to the Capitol the missing House members who are responsible for breaking a quorum. The only limitation to that, Sean, is that the jurisdictional limits to that are in the state of Texas, which is why the Texas law enforcement is not up there in Washington, D.C. or some other location trying to pursue these House members. So here's the deal. As long as those Texas House members remain in Washington, D.C., we're not going to have a quorum. But know this, a special session in Texas lasts 30 days. Once this 30-day special session expires, if the members return, I'll call another one, and we will be back in session unless they leave again, in which case I will continue calling special session after special session after special session. So they will have to be gone from the state of Texas all the way up until the next election. Here's the bottom line, Sean, of what this will lead to, because this is...
Maybe they can pay the higher taxes to D.C. Go ahead, sir.
This is the point the Democrats have not thought of. What is their end game? They haven't thought about that, and I can tell you what the end game is. We are going to have a special session where these and other issues are going to be voted on, including doing a better job of securing our border, including cutting our property taxes in Texas, including helping our teachers, our retired teachers that they were voted relief today by the Texas Senate, but they're not going to get it because the Texas House members are not there. We voted out of the Texas Senate today property tax relief that the people of Texas will not get because the Democrats were not in the Texas House of Representatives. So they have a job to do, and let me tell you something. Texas voters are going to be extremely angry at the Texas House members for not showing up and not doing the job. If you didn't show up and do your job, if other people who are watching your show right now did not show up and do their job, they would be losing their job or losing their pay. That is exactly what is going to happen to the members of the Texas House of Representatives. The Democrats.
In other words, it's not an arrest in the traditional sense, but the Texas law allows for law enforcement to escort them to do their job, which is mandated by law. Is that a correct statement?
That, and I'll add to it, so they will be brought to the Capitol. They will be brought to the Texas House chamber, and the House chamber doors will be locked, and no one can leave without permission of the Speaker of the House.
Last question. I'm concerned about the weaponization of the Department of Justice as the new Attorney General, Merrick Garland, now is going after Georgia, that has far more accessibility for voting than Joe's state of Delaware. That seems to me like they have weaponized our Justice Department. And why wouldn't they go after the state with the most restrictive laws like Joe's state? Because he never lifted a finger to lift the restrictions in Delaware.
Exactly. It's completely hypocritical. Also, as you were pointing out, Texas has more voting hours in early voting than does Delaware. The same is true in Texas versus the state of New York, for example. But of course, there's no chance that the Biden administration would go after Delaware or New York or any Democrat state. So the American people are getting a feel for where the Biden administration is, and that is hostile to anything that doesn't fit the socialistic agenda of the Biden administration.
Governor Abbott, thank you for being with us. We appreciate the update tonight. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.